Hello everybody, my name is Deja and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going over my anticipated releases for quarter 3. There's a lot of really good releases coming out in this quarter that I'm really excited for. This is for July, August, and September. I did one of these videos for quarter 1, and quarter 2 I did end up filming, but I never got around to editing and posting in time because by the time I was getting around to edit it, it would have been like too late and irrelevant. So I will have my Goodreads shelf link down below that has all of my anticipated releases for the entire year on it. So quarter 1, quarter 2, and this quarter, quarter 3 will be on there if you want to check it out, if you want to like look into the synopses for any of these a little bit more. And I have started to put some for quarter 4 on there as well if you want to kind of look ahead a little bit. I believe I have over 30 books for y'all today, so we're just gonna hop straight into it. I'm not going to be reading the synopsis for everyone. Actually, I'm not going to be reading the full synopsis for any one of these. I've shortened the synopses down to kind of a smaller bite-sized little chunk so we can get the general idea of what each book is about without having to read lengthy synopses for every single one. So coming out on July 2nd, we have The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This is an adult mystery book that was written by the author who also wrote Long Bright River, which is a book that I heard about a couple years ago and I own on my physical TBR. I've heard pretty good things about it, but I have not gotten around to reading it yet. This one follows a teenager, Barbara, who goes missing from her summer camp in 1975, but Barbara's not just any kid. She's part of the wealthy family that owns the camp. What's crazy is that this is not the first child from this family to have disappeared before. As the search for her unfolds, we dive into the secrets of the family and the community around them. This one really intrigues me because of the summer camp in 1975. Like, that setting sounds so interesting to me, especially for this time of year. I think this might be one that I add to my summer TBR because I'm really interested in kind of like that setting, and then also the fact that another kid from this family has also disappeared before. Like, what's going on there? I think this is going to be a very interesting one. Then coming out on July 9th, we have Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. This is a horror book that is written by the author who wrote Camp Damascus, which is a adult horror book that came out last year that I've been really wanting to read. I still have not read it yet. I just keep forgetting about it, but I really want to read it because I am always looking for more queer books, specifically queer horror, and this is that. So we follow Misha, who is a seasoned scriptwriter that is nominated for his first Oscar, but faces pressure to kill off a gay character for the sake of ratings. Haunted by his past mistakes, Misha must risk everything to make the right choice before it's too late. I think this one's going to be really interesting because I hope that it's going to have like a lot of commentary on Hollywood and like queer characters in movies and things like that. I'm really hoping that's where this book kind of goes. Then also coming out on that same day, we have The Haters by Robin Harding, and this is the author who wrote The Drowning Woman, which came out last year, which is a book that I've been really dying to read. Like, I still really want to read it. And then also The Arrangement, which I physically own, and I believe that one follows a sex worker, which is really interesting. But this one follows Cameron Lane, who after achieving her dream of publishing her first novel faces a disturbing turn of events. She receives an ominous message and a harsh review that leads to a flood of poor ratings. As the online harassment seeps into her personal life, she's determined to unmask the person intent on ruining her. I think this one is going to be super fascinating because it almost sounds like a bitch, I'ma steal your life type of vibe. I don't know if the person is actually trying to steal her life, but like the way they try to kind of like weave their way into their lives and like take them down, I feel like it's kind of giving that, but from the other perspective. We normally get the person who is trying to take them down's perspective, but this one we're getting the person's perspective of who is going to be taken down. It also kind of gives me slight vibes of The Last Word, but again almost reverse. So I think this one's going to be a really interesting thriller to pick up. On July 16th, we have a Stephen Graham Jones book coming out, and that is I Was a Teenage Slasher, which I'm really nervous for this book because I kind of have a mixed bag with Stephen Graham Jones so far. I have The Only Good Indians, but have not read it yet. I've heard that's one of his best works, so I really want to pick that one up, but I feel like that one's more of like a fall winter book. And then My Heart is a Chainsaw I did not enjoy, and then Night of the Mannequins I thought was pretty good for a novella. It's a pretty good slasher, so I'm hoping this one is one that I enjoy more because My Heart is a Chainsaw was just kind of too slow for me. I liked some elements of it, but it was just too slow. So I'm hoping this one leans more into that slasher kind of fast-paced element. This one in itself is marketed as a classic slasher story with a twist. So I'm hoping again it leans more into that more fast-paced, quicker slasher. Because I love a slasher, but My Heart is a Chainsaw kind of plays into slasher tropes, but at the same time does it in a very slow manner, which is not for me. But it's set in 1986, which I love, and it's set in a part of Texas, which I have gone to Texas twice now and I really enjoy it there. So I'm really hoping that this setting and time period really works for me. It follows 17-year-old Tolly Driver who's cursed to kill for revenge, and it explores Texas that she grew up in through the perspective of the killer. Expect to root for the killer in this chilling summer read. I really do love a story where we're following a villain or a killer or something like that, as long as I'm able to root for them. And this one does say to expect to root for the killer. So I'm really hoping that this one has like good revenge plots and everything like that, and I hope that it's a little bit more fast-paced than My Heart is a Chainsaw. Coming out that same day, we have a romance, and that is Not Another Love Story by Julie Soto. This author wrote her debut last year, which was Forget Me Not, which is another one that I'm really interested in, and this is a spicy romance about two musical prodigies, Gwen Jackson and Xander Thorne. Gwen's mortified when she realizes Xander doesn't know her, despite working together for a year. Tensions rise when Gwen is offered the role of first chair, a position Xander secretly coveted. As they navigate their undeniable onstage chemistry and growing feelings, their budding romance risks being overshadowed by a publicity stunt. This one is really interesting to me because I've never read a book that follows musicians like this, because like I think they're actually like in an orchestra or something of that sort, because Gwen is being offered first chair, and I've never read a book like that before, so I'm really interested to see how that works in a romance, and I've heard good things about this author's work, well, the one book that she's come out with so far. Also on July 16th, we have a YA thriller, which is Girls Who Burn by M.K. Pagano, that's what I want to say. It's a debut book. This one follows Addie, who accuses Thatcher Montgomery of pushing her sister off of a ravine. However, when Thatcher is found dead in the same location a year later, Addie must team up with her childhood rival Seth to find the real killer and keep herself safe. This one sounds like a really fun YA thriller. I've been getting more into YA thrillers over the past couple years, and I feel like whenever I do pick up a YA thriller, they tend to be really, really good, and I really enjoy them. So hopefully this is one that I can add to that list. The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton comes out July 23rd. This one is described as a historical fantasy rom-com, which is very interesting. It's about rival ornithologists Beth and Devon hunting for a magical bird in England. The rivalry turns into an unlikely partnership when a competition to capture an endangered bird arises. Sparks fly as they navigate their feelings in professional rivalry, all while dealing with foul play. I'm hoping this one kind of gives like Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies vibes. That's what it's kind of like giving me with the historical fantasy, almost like romance. This one I assume is going to have more romance in it than that, because that's not a fantasy romance. That one's just a historical fantasy with romance elements, but this one is described as a rom-com, so I'm hoping it's like that meets Bridgerton together, and I'm hoping that's what I get in this book, but we'll see. And I don't know what an ornithologist is, but I'm assuming it might be like a bird specialist or something like that. Also coming out that same day, we have The Deading by Nicholas Beladaris. This one is an adult sci-fi horror, and I really want to read this one because it almost sounds like it's gonna kind of be a little bit of like ocean horror, because it takes place in a seaside town. I love ocean watery horror. It says Under the Dome meets The Last of Us in The Deading, a dystopian novel about a seaside town infected by a strange contagion from the ocean. Residents start dying and rising with terrifying changes. The town is cut off, and as disturbing rituals emerge, the uninfected must decide how to survive. The book explores social denigration, the horror of survival, and unexpected solace found in nature and human connection. Now, I really don't like survival stories that much, or like apocalyptic stories. Like, that's not for me, but this is a strange contagion from the ocean, which sounds really, really interesting. This one I could see being one that I really hate or really love, so we'll see how it actually goes. Coming out July 30th is The Blonde Dies First by Joelle Wellington. This is a YA horror book, which I'm really excited about. This one is about Devon and her friends who accidentally summon a demon using a Ouija board. This demon isn't your typical one though, it's following slasher movie rules. Devon, being the blonde, is first on the chopping block, while her crush Yaya is the final girl. So their best summer ever quickly turns into a nightmare. They'll have to use their horror film knowledge to outsmart the demon. Will they survive, or will it be their last summer? I love that this one's following slasher movie kind of vibes again. I feel like we're getting so many of those this year, like just like an influx. Like, I've already listed 2 in this video, but then we have, I think, one from Craig Deluby, we have one from Paul Tremblay. There's been more as well. There's been probably at least like 7 or 8 this year that are coming out, so That's really crazy to me, but I'm really excited for this one because it is with Black characters, I believe, and it's queer, so that makes me really excited. Also on that day, we have The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is another YA book. This one is a thriller, and it's the first in the new series by this author, and Jennifer Lynn Barnes wrote The Inheritance Games and The Naturals. I literally had The Naturals sitting right next to me. I read the first 2 books in that series this year, and I've loved them, so I can't wait to see what she does in this one. This one says, welcome to The Grandest Game, a competition run by billionaire Avery Grams and the infamous Hawthorne brothers, which I believe are from the Inheritance Games. So it has 7 players, each with their own golden ticket, battle for fame and fortune. Every player has secrets, and not everyone is playing by the rules. Expect puzzles, danger, romance, and riches in this new series set in the world of the Inheritance Games. Do you have what it takes to play? I feel like this one might, I don't know, don't quote me, but I feel like it might kind of have like puzzles, and like I feel like it might talk to the reader as like if they're a player, which I hope it does. I really, really do. I think that'll be such like a cool twist. I'm not sure, but I do like puzzly type thriller mysteries, so I'm really interested to see what this one has in store. And then lastly for July is another book that also comes out on July 30th, and that is Like Mother, Like Daughter by Kimberly McCreight. This one is written by the author of A Good Marriage and Where They Found Her. I really want to read both those books. And this one follows Cleo, an NYU student who comes home to find her mom, Kat, missing and a bloody shoe under the sofa. Kat, who Cleo believed to be a successful lawyer, turns out to be her firm's fixer, dealing with her own threats, including demands from her unfaithful husband and anonymous messages from her past. This novel is a riveting love story between a mother and daughter, each trying to save the other. I love mother-daughter relationships in books, so I think this one will be a really, really fun one to add to the list. Now we're going to move on to August, and the first one is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. Coming out August 6th is This Ravenous Fate by Haley Dennings. I actually have a physical arc of it right over there, which I am hoping to read in the next couple of days. And this one is a historical queer fantasy with vampires, which sounds amazing. It's Haley's debut, and she was actually a booktuber. She still makes content here or there, and her channel is Pages of Haley. Now she's coming out with her first book that is literally queer. It's Black. It's a historical fantasy that I believe takes place in the 1920s in the Jazz Age, and it has vampires. So it says it's the first in a fantasy duology, which I like a duology. Like, I feel like we never do duologies or trilogies anymore. Every series is coming out with like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books. Where did the duologies go? Where did the trilogies go? So I'm excited this was a duology, and it's set in Jazz Age Harlem. It centers around Elsie Saint, the reluctant heir to a Reaper hunting enterprise, and Layla Quinn, a Reaper who blames Elsie for her transformation. When Reapers start turning humans again and Layla is blamed for the chaos, they're forced to team up and uncover a possible Reaper cure, all while dealing with their complicated past and growing threat to both Reapers and humans. I just am so excited for this one. Like, it has so many things I'm interested in, and it was written by someone who I literally know, so I'm so excited for this one. Also coming out that same day is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reed. This is the author of Juniper and Thorn and A Study in Drowning, which I've heard good things about both of those. This is a gothic historical fantasy retelling. It reimagines Shakespeare's infamous villainess, giving her a voice, history, and power that challenges the male-dominated narrative. The lady destined to marry a brutish Scotsman must use her cunning and secret witchcraft to survive in a hostile court. Unknown to her, her husband has his own occult secrets, and her magic, more potent and dangerous, threatens the world's order. She's yet to discover this, but she will. This one just sounds so good. Like, the fact that it's reimagining Shakespeare, and our main character is a witch. I love anything like paranormal, like vampires, witches, werewolves, any of that. So this one I definitely have to pick up. Also coming out that same day, we have The Dead Cat Tail Assassins by P. Djeli Clark. They wrote Ring Shout, which I read and really, really enjoyed. This is an adult fantasy novella. It takes us to a city full of gods and assassins. We follow Even the Eviscerator, a professional assassin with a mysterious past and strict rules. When a festival shakes up the city, Even faces a mission that challenges her vows and brings her face to face with a past she cannot remember but can't forget either. I just really want to pick this one up because I really enjoyed Ring Shout, and I think it's going to be a really fun read. Then also on that same day, again August 6th, we have House of Glass by Sarah Pekkanen, who wrote books with Greer Hendricks. Like, Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen is like what I just know. They go together. They wrote The Golden Couple, The Wife Between Us, and An Anonymous Girl. This is another thriller. It revolves around Rose Barkley, a 9-year-old girl who might have witnessed her nanny's murder amidst her parents' divorce, causing her to stop speaking. Stella Hudson, a children's advocate lawyer, reluctantly takes the case due to her mentor's insistence. The Barclay family's twisted secrets become more evident as Stella steps into their eerie all-plastic house. As Stella digs deeper, she realizes everyone's a suspect, even Rose. Can she uncover the truth when everyone seems to be lying? I love anything that takes place with like the criminal justice system, so like that's why I really like detective perspectives. I really like lawyers and books. I love all of that because I am a criminology major at school, criminology and psychology, so I love anything in those two realms. So I'm really interested in the fact that we're following a lawyer, and then also literally a 9-year-old girl might have been the killer of her nanny. So I'm really interested to see that as well. And then we have even more August 6th releases. So the next one up is The Pairing by Casey McQuiston, which is a queer adult romance. And obviously Casey McQuiston wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue and One Last Stop. This is a rom-com about bisexual exes, Theo and Kit. They've been through everything from being best friends to lovers, and now they're estranged. After a tough breakup, they built separate lives. Theo as a bartender and aspiring sommelier in the States. I don't know what that word is, to be honest with you. And Kit as a sought-after pastry chef in Paris. After 4 years, they decide to use a voucher for a food and wine tour in Europe they'd planned while together. But surprise, they both had the same idea. Now they're stuck together for 3 weeks touring the most romantic cities. To keep things interesting, they started a hookup competition, but this only makes them realize what they truly want. So the hookup competition part of it doesn't really interest me, but I'm hoping that this one definitely has a lot of like traveling to all these different cities in Europe, and I really think I'm gonna love that a lot. And the fact that we're following 2 bisexual exes, I literally love that, and I'm so excited. Still coming out on August 6th is House of Bones and Rain by Gabino Iglesias, which is another horror book. This one is the author of The Devil Takes You Home, which is a release I believe that came out last year that I've been really interested in. I don't know why, if maybe someone compared it to it, but it just reminds me of S.A. Cosby. This one is a gripping tale of 5 childhood friends in Puerto Rico who seek revenge after the murder of one of their mothers. As they confront the harsh realities of life, the line between myth and reality blurs. The story explores themes of grief, vengeance, and the after effects of violence. This one, for sure, definitely reminds me of Razorblade Tears, which makes me really excited because I love that book so much, so hopefully this one delivers. And lastly, on August 6th, we have Blood Like Mine by Stuart Neville. This one follows a desperate single mom, Rebecca, and her daughter, Moonflower, on the run in the American West. They're avoiding a gruesome secret and an FBI agent on the trail of a terrifying serial killer. In this chilling game of cat and mouse, nothing is certain. I just thought this one was really interesting to see a single mother, especially with all these secrets, and they're running from an FBI agent, and there's also a serial killer involved. Like, there's just a lot of moving pieces, and I feel like this is one that's gonna definitely like click those pieces together in a very interesting way. On August 13th, we have Till Death Do Us Part by Lori Elizabeth Flynn. This one is a thriller. It's about June, who's moving on a decade after her husband Josh allegedly drowned. When she spots a man identical to Josh, she flies to Napa Valley for answers, uncovering shocking secrets about her first love. I love like the trope where someone's dead and then they come back and they're like, hey, I'm not dead anymore, or they just turn up and not be dead. So I think this one's gonna be really fun because I just love that trope. Then again, on August 13th, we have a new book coming out from TJ Newman. This one's called Worst Case Scenario. This is the same author who wrote Falling and Drowning, which I have not read either, but I really want to read both. Like, I've been really wanting to read both of these books. I think I own Falling now, so hopefully I'll be able to read that one. This one is about a heart attack stricken pilot that crashes the plane into a Minnesota town's nuclear plant, leading to a global crisis. The International Nuclear Event Scale tracks nuclear disasters. It has 7 levels. Level 7 is a major accident. The only 2 on record is Fukushima and Chernobyl. There's never been a level 8 until now. It's about ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances, trying to save their community and humanity. So this one kind of seems like it's going to divert a little bit from her previous works, because what I know from both of them is that they're both about plane crashes, and this one's also about a plane crash, but I believe this one follows more of like the aftermath of the plane crash and how that impacts the world. I find it really interesting that this one's causing an actual global crisis, because we are not so far off from that, to be honest. And then lastly, on August 13th, we have I Need You to Read This by Jessa Maxwell. This one is a mystery book, and it is from the author of The Golden Spoons. This one is about Alex Marks, a New York newcomer who unexpectedly lands the job of her murdered childhood hero, Frances Keene, the advice columnist for Dear Constance. As Alex starts receiving strange letters and questions from her new boss's involvement in Keene's death, she's drawn into a dangerous mystery tied to her own past. Will she solve the murder or meet a similar fate? I just thought this one sounded interesting, especially with the columnist element. I haven't really heard that much about the Golden Spoon, but I do love a good mystery. Then coming out on August 20th, we have The Last Party by A.R. Torrey, which I'm really excited about because she wrote The Girl in 6E, which I loved, and this is another thriller. I also really want to read The Good Lie by her as well, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. This one is a gripping story about Perla, a woman living a seemingly perfect life but with a dark obsession. She's fixated on a decades-old crime where Leawood Fulcrum confessed to murdering 2 girls. As Perla dives deeper into the case and a doctoral student interviews the killer, secrets begin to unravel. Raising questions about the true events of that night, the story is a twisty tale about deception, hidden secrets, and a plan that could lead to another death. I just know that A.R. Torrey is going to eat because The Girl in 6E was so good. Then lastly for August, on August 29th, we have The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. This is the same author as The Midnight Library and The Humans, which are 2 really popular literary fiction books. And this one follows Grace Winters, a retired math teacher who inherits a house on a Mediterranean island from a long-lost friend. She travels to Ibiza with no plan, searching for answers about her friend's life and death. But what she discovers is beyond her wildest dream. This is a tale of hope, wild adventure, and the transformative power of new beginnings. I'm hoping this one definitely leans into like the Mediterranean island vibe because I love that. Like, I'm looking for all the summer vibes right now, and this one is coming out at the end of August, so it might be one that I read next summer. I'm honestly getting into like my literary fiction era, so I'm really excited for this one for sure. Now we're going to be moving on to September, and on September 1st we have The Cottage Around the Corner by D.L. Soria, which is described as a contemporary fantasy witch adult rom-com. A lot of buzzwords there. I told you I love anything like witchy, vampire-y, werewolfy, anything like that. It's about Charlie Sparrow, a witch running a spell shop in Owl's Hollow, and Fitz, a handsome mage who opens a rival shop. As business competition heats up, strange supernatural events start happening around town, forcing Charlie and Fitz to collaborate. As they work together, they realize that maybe the town is big enough for both a witch and a mage. I just think this one sounds so fun. Like, I love a paranormal rom-com because I love any romance book that adds something a little bit different in, whether it's like a dark element, a paranormal element, a fantasy element, a mystery element, anything, emotional element, anything like that. So even if it's just like a traditional rom-com, as long as it has something like a paranormal element in it, I think that it could be a recipe for something that I really love. It's reminding me a little bit of like the X-Hex, so I am really excited. Then on September 10th is another one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and that is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. This is the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea. It's the second book in the series. It's a cozy adult fantasy, and this author has also written Under the Whispering Door, In the Lives of Puppets, and Wolfsong, which I have read all of them and I really, really like them. Wolfsong and The House in the Cerulean Sea are my favorites though, and this is the sequel to one of my favorites. So I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I'm going to read a little bit of a synopsis about this one, but if you don't want to be spoiled at all for The House in the Cerulean Sea, I would skip past this book and wait till I put a different book cover up here. But this one follows Arthur, the head of a magical orphanage, who hopes to become the adoptive father to the 6 magical kids living there. He's joined by his love Linus, the island sprite Zoe, and her girlfriend. When Arthur's dark past is called into the spotlight, he fights for the future his family and all his magical beings deserve. A new magical child who calls himself a monster hopes to join them, pushing the family to a breaking point. It's a story of resistance and fighting for the life you want. It just sounds like it's gonna be so good. I'm so excited. Like, y'all have no idea. And then also coming out that same day, we have So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison, another one of my most anticipated releases of the year. This one is an adult vampire horror, another vampire book. I feel like this is literally the year of like horror movie books, like anything slasher related, horror movie related books like that, and then also vampires. This is the same author as Cackle, Such Sharp Teeth, Black Sheep, and The Return. I've read Cackle and Black Sheep and I loved them, and then I really want to read Such Sharp Teeth later this year in the fall. But this one is now her take on vampires. This one follows Sloane Parker, who's dreading her birthday. Her husband surprises her with a birthday weekend getaway with her best friend Naomi. What was supposed to be a relaxing weekend takes an unexpected turn when Naomi orchestrates a wild night out with strangers, leading to life-changing consequences. It's a story about coming to terms with change and finding satisfaction in unexpected places. I'm really excited to see where like the vampire element of this one comes in. I think this one could be very, very interesting, especially because it's Rachel Harrison. Then on September 12th, we have An Academy for Lies by Alexis Henderson, which is a gothic horror fantasy, and this one is marketed as Dark Academia. which I know y'all girlies love. So this is the author of The Year of the Witching and House of Hunger. I love The Year of the Witching. House of Hunger was just okay for me. But this one follows the story of Lennon Carter. Her life is in shambles until she's invited to Drayton College, a secret magic school in Savannah. Lennon, like her peers, has the unique ability to persuade others and even control matter. She's drawn into her studies, the beautiful campus, her classmates, and her enigmatic advisor Dante. As she delves deeper, Lennon uncovers disturbing secrets about Drayton and Dante's past. The ultimate test to wield power without corruption terrifies her, and she fears she might fail. This one definitely is marketed as horror as well as fantasy, so I'm really excited to see more of those horror elements come through in this book. And I trust Alexis Henderson with adding in horror elements because I feel like she's really good at that. And then on that same day, we have A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. This is a sapphic adult fantasy romance. We follow Lorelei, a folklorist, goes on an expedition with 6 nobles to find a magic spring. Things take a dark turn when her mentor is murdered and she's left with her academic rival Sylvia to solve the mystery. As they navigate through dangerous forests, meet slumbering dragons, and face shape-shifting beasts, they uncover their professor's secrets and question the worth of their mission. I hope this one is a little bit more like cozy fantasy because I feel like they're just way easier for me to like read personally. Not that reading a book that's hard to read is bad. I just, fantasy, like with my ADHD and my neurodivergence, doesn't really work for me, but some fantasy romances do work for me and cozy fantasies do work as well. So I'm hoping that this one definitely appeals to my brain chemistry. Then on September 17th, we have Evil and Me by Brahm, which is another horror book. This is the author of Slewfoot and Krampus. I loved Slewfoot. Krampus was okay, but I loved Slewfoot. This one is about an aspiring musician, Ruby Tucker, who's possessed by a demon due to an ancient ring. She needs to bring her band back together and create a song powerful enough for hundreds of people to chant a spell to set her free. This horror novel explores themes of possession, damnation, and rock and roll. I'm really excited for this one just because I grew up with a lot of rock in my household. My dad is a classic rock lover, and even my sister listens to rock music. He listens to newer rock. My dad also listens to newer rock music, so I feel like that's just like what I grew up with. So seeing that in a book is going to be really interesting for me. And then on September 24th, we have The Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio, who is the author of We Were Villains, which is a book that I've heard such good things about. I have not read it yet, but I definitely do want to. This is a horror novella. It says an eerie modern gothic tale. It's about 5 night shift workers, a bartender, rideshare driver, hotel receptionist, church steward, and college paper editor who stumble upon a mysterious open grave in the college's ancient cemetery. They follow the gravedigger and find themselves entangled in a town mystery. It promises an atmospheric read with an ensemble cast and an academic setting for fans of If We Were Villains. I am really interested in this one just because all these people seem so different, like a bartender, rideshare driver, hotel receptionist, church steward, and college paper editor, but I think it's going to be really, really fun and I'm excited for it for sure. Then on the same day, we have The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. This is the author of House of Salt and Sorrow, and this one is YA, but it's a gothic fantasy. It's about a healer named Hazel who's a 13th child promised to God. Her godfather, Merrick, gives her the power to diagnose illnesses instantly, but at a cost. She has to end the suffering of those claimed by death. She's haunted by her actions and ends up in a royal court where she meets Prince Leo. Here she faces a dilemma, choosing between saving a doomed king or facing the consequences of defying death. I've heard really good things of House of Salt and Sorrow. As you can tell, a lot of the books on here are from authors that I've either read before or have heard good things about, and that's why I'm so intrigued by these books. But House of Salt and Sorrow I do own, and I'm really excited to pick that one up as well. And then we do have quite a few more releases for September 24th. The next one that's up is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I don't know if I'm going to be reading this one personally, but I wanted to put it on here for y'all girlies because obviously this is the author of Normal People. She also wrote like Conversations with Friends, I think it's called, but people love Normal People. And I don't know if Normal People is going to be for me. I'm still debating on reading it or just touching Sally Rooney's work because I cannot tell if I'm going to love it or if it's going to annoy the absolute bejesus out of me. If you guys have any idea whether you guys think I'll like her, let me know down below. But this one is a deeply touching story revolving around grief, love, and family. It explores the lives of 2 distinct brothers, Peter and Ivan, who find themselves coping with their father's death. Peter, a successful lawyer, juggles his relationships with 2 women while facing insomnia and emotional struggles. Ivan, a competitive chess player, forms an intense bond with Margaret, an older woman with her own troubled past. The story delves into a new phase of longing, despair, and possibility, testing the capacity of a single life to endure without shatter. This one honestly does sound good. It appeals to me more than her other work, so maybe I'll try this one and just see if I like it. But I don't know. Y'all let me know if I should read Sally Rooney. And then also, again, on the same day, we have The Village Library Demon Hunting Society by C.M. Wagner. This is an adult cozy mystery slash cozy fantasy. We follow Sherry, who's a librarian and amateur detective who is dealing with a rising body count in her small town. She's not just solving murders now, she's battling ancient demons too. With the help of a priest and her friends, she's on a mission to solve a murder and exorcise a demon. It's Murder, She Wrote meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but with a librarian twist. I think that the Buffy the Vampire Slayer with a librarian twist just sounds so interesting to me, so I'm really intrigued to pick this one up. Then again, on the same day, September 24th, we have Devil Killed Devils by Johnny Compton. This is the author of The Spite House, which I did not enjoy, but I don't really enjoy like paranormal books. I know earlier I said that I love anything paranormal, but by that I meant like vampires, werewolves, things like that. And in this context of like horror, normally paranormal means like ghosts, and I don't like ghosts in my books, but I like paranormal creatures as in like vampires, werewolves, witches. So I just wanted to clarify that because I literally was contradicting myself, but I meant different things. So I really was excited to pick up another one of his books that maybe leans a little bit different to see if I like it, because I did enjoy a lot of elements of that book, but the horror just didn't work for me. But this one is described as a Southern Gothic horror, which I do really like. It is a novel for fans of Sylvia Moreno Garcia, who I also am not the hugest fan of, but it's about Sarita, who's been watched over by her guardian angel, Angelo. But when Angelo kills someone she loves, Sarita realizes she's been surrounded by shadows her whole life. To survive, she must embrace the evil within, expect a terrifying race against the hordes of hell. This one sounds really interesting. The hordes of hell is crazy, so I'm hoping that I enjoy this one a little bit more than The Spite House. And the last book of this video, again, comes out on September 24th, is Necrology by Meg Ripley. This one is a debut horror book. It's set in a world where magical women known as the Dirty have given up their magic for safety. A headmistress called Whitetail grows antlers, breaking their contract. When her wealthy benefactor abuses her for it, a young girl, Rabbit, uses her magic to defend Whitetail, setting off a series of events that lead to a potential revolution. This story explores the fight for freedom and the power of resistance. This one just sounded really interesting for a debut, and again, I love anything like paranormal, and these seem like these women are like witches and they're being persecuted, which is very interesting to me in general. So that's all that I have for this video today. Let me know if you guys have any anticipated releases for the next quarter that I did not list on this video down below, because I would love to check them out. And if you made it to the end, leave a little shell emoji down below, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye everybody! Rhymes in the kitchen, soaking in moments we live in, yeah. You got the nerve to be on me.